Good afternoon guys, Dark Purple Shadow here. Today I'm going to be talking about the brand new leaks of the 5080 and 5090 Blackwell graphics cards by Nvidia. Now first and foremost, I'm going to go over the specs at a basic level of these graphics cards. I'm going to talk about exactly what I think of the specs, the exact differences between the last gen, which is 4090, well the current gen, and the new upcoming generation, which is the 50 series. And it will be interesting to think about exactly what's changing and why it's changing the way it is. And at the end, I'm going to give you my little roundup of my personal conspiracy theory as to why things are the way they are and kind of what I'm going to be looking for when it comes to this generation of graphics cards, because I'm due to upgrade and I wanted to upgrade to a 50 series, and this announcement might put a spanner in the works because I currently have a GTX 1080. I don't know how long I can survive just playing games on low, medium settings, you know, worrying about things like that. I want to be busting out the big RTX sooner rather than later. And unfortunately, my patience might not have been worth it, because let's continue with the rest of the video. First and foremost, let's talk about the streaming multiprocessors. Currently, the SMs within the 5090 are looking at 170, which is a massive uplift from the 128 in the 4090, a big increase. While on the 5080 side of things, you have an increase from about 76 to 84. So a much more modest increase, however, an increase nonetheless. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The big daddy when it comes to NVIDIA GPUs is the CUDA cores. Effectively, usually when looking within a generation, the more CUDA cores, the better the GPU. That's just usually how it works. CUDA is the architecture NVIDIA use and the way they kind of do their computations. So the 4090 to the 5090 is a massive increase. I'm talking a huge increase. You're going from about 16,000 CUDA cores to a whopping 22,000 almost. It is a crazy uplift. Now, when I look at the 5080, you're only looking at about a 1,000 CUDA core uplift. That is nowhere near what I kind of hoped for. I don't think the generational leap between the 4080 to the 5080 will be that great, unfortunately, just based off this one metric. Now, there is a caveat here. The architecture might be a lot more superior, making it a lot faster. However, in terms of world beating, probably won't be. It might edge in front of the 4090 a bit, but even that is not guaranteed. There have been rumors that it's about 10% faster, but we don't know under what metrics, why it will be 10% faster. It might be under very specific conditions. In terms of raw power, it looks like it's going to be better than the 4080, but not by much. So we'll have to see how things play out. I'm quite disappointed with this. I kind of wanted it to be closer to the number of CUDA cores in a 4090, but you can't have everything. We don't know what the boost clocks will be. That's something we don't have information. We're not privy to that information right now. In terms of memory bus, again, it's remained the same as the 4080 and the 4080 Super, 256, which is unfortunate. Now the 4090 has been uplifted. The 5090 will have a 512-bit bus, which is crazy, a decent increase. One good thing here is that both the 5080 and the 5090 will be using GDDR6X RAM. Therefore, they'll both be on a higher memory speed, which is amazing. The memory bandwidth will also be increased, but obviously for the 4080 to the 5080, it won't be as big of an increase as it will be with the 4090 to the 5090. Power connectors and wattages. Now this is where it gets a bit crazy. The 5080 is rumored to use about 400 watts, while the Big Daddy 5090 will be using 600 watts, which is the upper limits of the 16 pin adapter that goes into these. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have some sort of a heating situation with the pins in this one as well. But I don't think NVIDIA will make that same mistake twice. It's just not worth it for them. They don't want to look like silly cows. So there is an uplift in wattages. So maybe there'll be some sort of reasoning behind that as well. Maybe it will translate to better power. Another big upgrade in this new generation coming forward is PCIe 5, PCI Express 5, full 16 lanes. Obviously, these are relatively high-end, well, these are the highest-end GPUs you can possibly buy with any money outside of the commercial sector. So yeah, looking good. Now, if you're smart, clued on, you're a smart guy, you've noticed I haven't mentioned the biggest elephant in this room, and that is the fact that the 5080 will be using the exact same amount of memory, VRAM, let me be clear, the exact same amount of VRAM as a 4080 Super. Obviously it is faster GDDR7 and I'm sure there's cost associated with that, but that is a shame. I feel like Nvidia could have just given us the mental kind of happiness of having a 2 gig increase or even a 4 gig increase, a nice 20 gigabytes of VRAM. That would have been nice. Now the knock-on effect this has is it means I really think the issues around the 4000 series in terms of not enough VRAM will continue into the next generation of Nvidia cards. If the 5080 will only have 16 gigabytes on release, then I really doubt the base 5070 will have anything more than last generation, which is sad news. Personally, what I think will make or break these graphics cards is the pricing situation. As of now, we don't actually have any information around pricing, and my kind of personal input and take on this is I'm quite disappointed. I really wanted to go from a GTX 1080 to a GTX 5080 just to be like, yeah, big upgrade, let's go. I was kind of late in the game when it came to the 4000 series, so I didn't want to jump on the bandwagon towards the end of the life cycle, but it feels like financially getting a 4080 might be the best solution when these graphics cards come out, because they will be expensive. Even if the MSRPs aren't super high, they'll probably still to some extent will be gouged a little bit. We don't have the crypto boom or anything, but these are hypey products. All products with hype around them, scalpers exist. So it will be interesting to see what happens. I have heard some rumors that Nvidia is basically keeping it, the 5080, at a 16 gigabyte VRAM amount to allow for better pricing and to make it more attractive, much more attractive than the 5090 in terms of pricing, and basically really segregate the people who want to spend as much money as they want and effectively the power users who are a bit more sensible. Realistically, for most people, these graphics cards are overkill regardless, but the 5080 does look very disappointing, and I wasn't really looking at getting a 5090. It is going to be at least £2,000 in the UK brand new when it first comes out, which is a lot of money. You could build an entire system with a bloody 5080 inside it for £2,000. So realistically, it probably isn't a good idea to drop that on one graphics card that's going to be obsolete within 5 years. So realistically, the 5080 is an upsetting kind of revelation to me. If these leaks are true, then that means it's not a big jump over the 4080 Super. It's not a massive upgrade in terms of performance, in terms of actual on paper specs. It is a generational upgrade, but it's not going to blow everything out of the water and make the 4000 series look like yesterday's news. The 4000 series will still very much be relevant, and especially with the VRAM numbers staying quite consistent, the 4000 series will still be relevant, especially the 4090 and to a lesser degree the 4080 Super. So realistically, this news has just taught us a lesson. Sometimes patience doesn't pay off. Now I want you guys to tell me in the comment section below what you think, how you feel about this. Realistically, most people cannot afford these high-end top-of-the-line graphics cards. I really enjoy computers, and I really wanted to treat myself to one of the new 5000 series, but if I'm putting it into perspective, then it really isn't worth it unless you're going for a 5090, and the 5090 seems to be very geared towards the top dogs. I'm talking infinite budgets or commercial users. 32 gigabytes of VRAM is excessive for anyone in this day and age. Now realistically, obviously I was complaining about the 5080's VRAM, but you don't need it that high obviously, but you have a massive uplift over the 4090, which is insane, and it's GDDR7.